Hello YouTube, welcome to the stream. This is another live stream by the Geo Scholar, and I'm going to talk about the importance of water transportation routes. And one of the most underrated things to consider in geography is the importance of a good water route. Now, one thing to understand, water transportation is not going away. Don't ever count on it going away. It has been part of human history going back to the ancient times, going back to antiquity, and it's going to be with us for the foreseeable future. It's going to be with us. And in many ways, it is both a blessing and a curse. And I'm going to go into that. I talked about water transportation in one of my YouTube videos. In fact, I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to go to my channel and show you that video. If I can find it. Oh, here it is. Transportation around in the elements too. But you have to really, really consider how water has played a big role in transportation. There has played a big role in trade. Think about this. As the progression of United States population growth started going westward in the early 19th century, think about cities like Cincinnati. Cincinnati became one of the fastest growing cities in the United States during the 19th century. Why? The Ohio River. But I digress. One of the things you have to really consider in terms of water, you know, we often think about one of the most precious resources you could deal with is oil, but I mentioned in another video, water is a major resource. And you have to understand how major that resource really is. And in order to understand and grasp the significance of it, I'm not going to bring up certain examples like, areas in the desert where water is where water is the opposite of plentiful. It's very scarce. You know, we know that water is very scarce in the desert, and we know that it's very precious. I'm not going to talk about that part. I'm going to talk about water routes because obviously this is what this live stream is about. I'm going to talk about water routes. I'm going to talk about one major problem to consider. What if those water routes were to be disrupted? I'm going to name some important choke points. Think about the Strait of Hormuz, the Malaccas Strait. These have all been important trade routes for thousands of years, and they continue to be important trade routes today. They are very important trade routes not only because of the human resource, not only because of the resources that are coming out of these areas, but these are important choke points because you have to understand a choke point. It's like a very constrained shipping lane, and that's like the only way to get certain products out of an area. You have to think about the Strait of Hormuz, why that particular strait is so important. And I'm going to bring up Google Earth. Yes. I'm going to bring up Google Earth and guide you to the Strait of Hormuz. There it is. There is the Strait of Hormuz. You've got Iran up here. You've got Iran here. You've got other places here. You've got Dubai down here. You've got Ras Al Khaimah over here. You have to really think about the importance of this region and why I mention this. This is a major choke point, not only because of the constraining geography and because of the, this being a very big shipping lane, but what comes out of this shipping lane? Oil comes out of here. You've got the oil producing nations here. Saudi Arabia is an oil producing nation. Iran, oil producing nation. You have so much oil in this region. And this is where water comes in. You have to ship that oil out. And oil is shipped out through here. If there were ever a disruption in the Strait of Hormuz, if there was any kind of geopolitical crisis that were ever to take place here, that would be horrible. It would cause a lot of problems with the supply of oil. It would cause, you would have a rise in oil prices. So strategically, that is a very important region in terms of, strategy. And I'm going to make a video about geopolitics in general soon, but another shipping route. The Malacca Strait. The Malacca Strait. Southeast Asia, you've got Indonesia, Malaysia down here. You go further south, you got Singapore. Major shipping route. It's always been a major shipping route for thousands of years, and it continues to be one today. You have a lot of resources being shipped out through here, and it's very important to maintain a certain geopolitical balance in the region because of that major shipping lane. Any disruption that were to ever take place, it would be economically catastrophic because of the strategic location. And that's something you have to understand about the geopolitics of water routes. Hello, Arian Drake. Hello, Arian Drake. I'm going to show you another place. The Arctic. I'm only going to discuss this region in short detail because I want to make another video about this just on its own. There are a lot of ambitions for this region. You've got several countries trying to have domination over the Arctic. United States, Canada, Russia, China, and one of the big reasons, transportation, water routes, because you've got a shorter distance in between places here. I'll talk about that later, but the exploration of the possibility of more frequent transportation through the Arctic on sea routes. In fact, the Arctic region, people have been trying to find more and more routes to get through the Arctic. Now we're going to see the Mississippi River. The Mississippi River, we look at this river, it says, we're going to get it on St. Louis. I'm going to show you St. Louis, Missouri. You think about you think about the city of St. Louis, you think of places on the Mississippi River and how strategic the Mississippi River has always been. Today you have a lot of barge traffic and ships, ocean going ships can go up to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It is still a workaday river. It's still an important river, but the Mississippi River itself, its strategic location in the middle of the United States of America, it's been sort of, the uniter, the big union. All these other rivers just flow into the Mississippi, the Ohio, the Missouri. And you have to really think about how important and how strategic that river is. And you have to think about, hold up, show you another place. And I've mentioned this city several times, New Orleans. I've mentioned this city. There would be no New Orleans without the Mississippi River. You think about where New Orleans is and you think how important this city is in terms of maritime traffic, in terms of river traffic. You think about where the Mississippi River empties out into the Gulf of Mexico. As I've shown you before, it's a very strategic place. It's strategic for a reason. Because you have to think about so many cities around the Mississippi River. And then you have one particular, New Orleans, a major ocean going port. It's a river port, but ships that are on New Orleans Mississippi River are going to the Gulf of Mexico. And you have to really think about how important that is, because once you leave New Orleans and you exit towards the Gulf of Mexico, you've got access to markets in Latin America, places like Honduras, places like Colombia, Brazil, Venezuela. And then you have to think about how important New Orleans is because of the oil industry that's there. You have to really consider just the Mississippi River is so strategic. It goes down the middle of the United States of America, so it's centrally located, and then you've got a lot of products that are coming from two different sides of the United States of America, and they have to go. Historically, you would gather products from both sides of the Mississippi River, and they would all go downward on the Mississippi towards New Orleans and places further away. And so you really have to get the importance of water routes and the strategy. You have to understand, in order to understand this, you have to understand strategy. You have to understand there is a strategic purpose to where every place is located. You have to understand the strategic purpose of a lot of water routes and why they are important, and why, if anything were to happen, a lot of bad things would happen. I mentioned the Strait of Hormuz, major oil shipping center. Strait of Malaccas, got a lot of commerce going on for Southeast Asia. And then I mentioned Mississippi River. That's basically like America's river. You have to really think about how important that river has been historically and why it continues to be important. And I'm also going to mention more things about, historically, if you wanted to cut off certain countries from commerce, if you were at war with a country and you wanted to cut off their commerce, you just cut off the waterways. You do a military blockade on their water. The ports would suffer. And that's to show you the strategy, to show you the importance of water routes. Take, for instance, a country like Germany. Germany has so many rivers. Show you Germany on the map. Boop, boop. There's Germany. I'm going to take the roads off here because it's distracting. Look at how many rivers go. Well, no, those are borders for the states, for the Länder in Germany. You look at how many places you've got the Rhine River. You've got the Rhine River. You got the Rhine. You got the Elbe River. I'm going to show you that. Oops. I'm gonna have to get a better map. But if you were to look at just sort of where Germany's located and just how many rivers go through that country, you would understand the importance of those rivers in terms of trade because of Germany's central location and because of a lot of, the Danube River empties out to the Black Sea. The Rhine River empties towards the Atlantic Ocean. You've got, Germany became an important nation of trade. And it was, it's that factor that made it very strategic. A very strategic location in terms of industry, in terms of trade. And to understand why water transportation is never going away, you have to understand something. We're going to have airplanes. I've mentioned this in another video. We got airplanes, but there's only so much that an airplane can carry before it starts having problems. And roads, you got to maintain those roads. You got to maintain the roads, and the cost for fuel and stuff's not cheap. You got to mention, railroads. You got to maintain your railroads. You got to maintain your fuel. You have a lot that you have to take care of. Water, if the water's deep enough, if the water can handle large vessels, you got a good water route. You don't have to build a whole lot of infrastructure for the water routes. You just got to make sure you have a good port. You got to make sure that your ships and your vessels are taken care of. Other than that, there's not as much that has to be done in terms of water transportation. You can carry more goods on the water. It's not as fast, but you can carry more. There's more you can carry, and you can send as many ships as you want. That's something that needs to really be considered in terms of water routes and why they continue to be important and why they are so strategic. Because you gotta understand, 2/3 of our planet is water. So obviously you're gonna have a lot of water to have your ships go across. Your rivers, your oceans, and in the cases like Chicago, your lakes. You have to consider just the strategy of how things work. It's all about that strategy. That's what it is. And this is why water transportation routes are so important. Because, you got water there. You have a major natural way to transport goods. If anything were to disrupt it, you'd have big problems there. And historically, you have to think about it historically. When there has been war, people are saying blockade that river or blockade that port. If you had a blockade, it wouldn't matter how many goods you had in your area or what goods were coming your way. If ships couldn't get through, there is going to be a problem. And so that is why water transportation is so strategic, and why it is so valuable, and why it will be in the near future. And this is the end of the live stream. If you like this video, I plan to come up with more live streams pretty soon. I finally have gotten a Patreon account. I have a link to it in my channel. I might put a link to it in this live stream. But I finally have broken down and gotten a Patreon. I've thought about it. I finally got a Patreon. Finally. And well, if you like this, if you want to donate, you can. I have like first, second, and third tier of how the donation works, if you want to. But that's what I have to say about water transportation. If you want to donate to my Patreon, I'm gonna put it in the link. I'm gonna put a link in there in the description box if you're so inclined to. I am going to try to come up with more live streams, and I plan on doing more videos in the future. What they will be about, I will not tell you, but just remember, they will be in the realm of geography and other geosciences. So, I hope you enjoyed this live stream. This is the end of it for now, and stay tuned. Be sure to like and click the bell. If you're going to subscribe to my channel, click the bell so you get a notification when I upload or when I do a live stream. Very educational. That's my idea. I'm here to educate you. I am here to educate you and teach you things. That's what I'm here for. But click on that bell. Subscribe and then click on that bell to get notifications. This is the end of the stream.